To call the member for Cunningham.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I rise to address a very important, obviously, matter of public importance today. Can I just go to a few of the comments contributed by the member for Aston? And I'll go to his fear campaign about hit lists for schools in a moment, but I just want to firstly draw the House's attention to the fact that as a Victorian member in his contribution on education, he didn't mention once TAFEs. And given what's happened to TAFE in Victoria, I'm not at all surprised. I very much look forward to other Victorians. I very much look forward to their contribution and their attempt to explain the drastic cuts of the Baillieu government to TAFEs in Victoria. I have indeed followed. Disorderly
by interjecting outside of his place
in
this
Deputy
chamber.
Speaker. And I would point out to my colleagues on the other side, despite extreme provocation by the member for Aston's contribution, I did not once interrupt his contribution, so I would appreciate a similar courtesy. I have followed other MPIs, Deputy Speaker, with great interest on the debate that's been occurring about the Baillieu government cuts to TAFE in Victoria. And on each occasion I've noticed that they've failed to get Victorians to stand up and speak on them by and large. And I look forward to the member's contribution today, because it is quite clear that $300 million cut out of TAFE in Victoria is having an extreme and extraordinary impact. And I would take members, indeed, beyond the contribution of people like the TAFE Directors Association, the TAFE unions in Victoria, the student body organisations. If they're not contributions that members opposite would rely on, I might take them to comments by Mr Innes Willox of the Australian Industry Group, only recently when he was addressing the National Press Club about the cuts to TAFE in Victoria. And I'll just quote his words directly for the record. He said, "There have been significant changes made to TAFE in Victoria, for instance, which have led to closures of dozens of courses at regional TAFE colleges within Victoria. It is of significant concern to industry that we won't be able to then drive that skills pool into the future, and kids in regional Australia will miss out on opportunities to gain skills and then get into the workforce." So it is clear that there is a widespread view, including from the Peak Industry Group, that the cuts in Victoria to TAFE have been dramatic, significant and contrary to not only the interests of the individuals who are seeking to get skills for the future, but also contrary to the whole drive of the national agenda about addressing the raising of the skills base in this country and the matching of people with job opportunities by creating the opportunity for them to get the skills that they need. It's been a contentious debate in this country in recent times about the use of foreign labour having to come into Australia to fill skills shortages. And one of the important things that I would think would be a joint view of both sides of this parliament is the fact that in the longer term we do want to train up Australians to meet that skills gap. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that when the federal government is putting significant new money, billions of dollars of new money on the table for the vocational education and training sector, and at the same time as we're filling that bucket up to give young Australians a chance across regional Australia to match those job opportunities, state governments are pulling the plug out of the bucket at the bottom. And it's exactly what's happened in Victoria, and it is exactly the problem that we will face as a nation if we don't get people trained up in the skills that they'll need for the future. Now, as difficult as it is with one state perhaps going rogue, I could understand those on the other side having not wanted to talk about what they were doing in Victoria, and my colleague behind me would know that even more effectively from his own direct experience in his electorate. Now we've seen the New South Wales government do the same thing. Inconceivable that they didn't learn the lesson from Victoria. No. Barry O'Farrell in New South Wales has now pulled funding out of TAFE as well. 800 jobs to go, courses to be cancelled, fees to rise. Again, more opportunity for young people in regional areas dragged away from underneath them to gain the skills that they need. And I might just turn, with the indulgence of the House, briefly to my own area, an important regional area, the Illawarra, very significantly affected by changes in the manufacturing base and the movement that will require young people to get the new training and skills that they'll need for the future. And in the Illawarra Mercury today, the TAFE representative, Mr Terry Keeley, has said, and I'll quote his words, "This is another broken election promise from this government. Prior to this election, they guaranteed an investment in TAFE funding and in quality teaching and said they would ensure affordable access for all. Now, in a stroke of a pen, they've ensured that 800 teaching jobs will be cut over the next 4 years. That's 20% of the workforce, which will probably mean up to 100 jobs will go at Illawarra campuses." This is on the back, Deputy Speaker, of this government over recent years investing significant money in TAFE institutes in my area because we believe that vocational education and training is important and that at its base sits an effective public provider. In my own area, for example, the Wollongong campus, we've injected just over $2.8 million into upgrading outdated equipment there. Wollongong West, $311,000 in upgrading their equipment. At Dapto, upgrading lighting and power and installation of voice-over internet, $32,000. Shell Harbour campus, again upgrading and installation of voice-over internet, $410,000. At Yalla, photovoltaic cells, new toilet facilities, low-height training roof, installing hot water systems, $475,000. On top of that, Deputy Speaker, we invested $9.8 million in the Illawarra Institute of TAFE's Mechanical Engineering, Manufacturing and Environmental Technology faculties as part of the importance of providing the skills needed for young people to get the apprenticeships and training they need. It's all an investment that this government's made because prior to 2007 we were very conscious of the constant warnings that were made to this nation about two significant bottlenecks to the growth, the economic growth and opportunity and productivity of the nation. One was infrastructure bottlenecks, and the Minister for Infrastructure has made the point to this House on many occasions that this government, over the term of the Labor federal government, has invested more in infrastructure in our time than since the Federation, because we understood the importance of infrastructure. But going along with that, there were numerous warnings to the previous Howard government about a bottleneck in skill shortages, that there were significant gaps emerging between the new job demands and the skills opportunities. And we have injected unprecedented amounts, not only into our school system, but also into our tertiary system, our vocational system and our higher education system. And on the back of doing all that investment, we presume we could have national partnerships with the state governments. We presume that they would have a commitment to the ongoing investment in our young people, in retraining workers who are in industries that are being restructured, that need support to get the training for new jobs. We presume that there would be a common interest in achieving that. How wrong we were. How wrong we were. And if there are members on the opposite side from Queensland who are going to contribute to this debate, I'd say don't sit easy over there either. Don't sit easy if you're from Queensland. Indeed, we have seen in Queensland the Skills and Training Workforce Interim Report to the state government there. What did it recommend on TAFE? Perhaps increasing the investment because there was a growing mining industry that would need new skills in the mining sector. Perhaps it suggested that TAFE should create more places and more opportunities for people. No, that's not what they suggested. No. They suggested cutting the TAFEs in half and going from 82 TAFEs to 44. I mean, quite honestly, if that report is in any way claiming to contribute to economic growth and development of that state, then I think the government in Queensland will be well recommended to throw it out before the final report comes out later in this year. So those in Queensland should not sit resting easy thinking, oh, our TAFEs have been safe. We don't have to stand up in this place and justify our Liberal state government doing something really ridiculous in the face of a national skills shortage. We'll leave that to the colleagues in New South Wales and Victoria. They can deal with the embarrassment of their state governments ripping the bottom out of skills training. Don't sit comfortably at all, because that's exactly what is on the agenda in Queensland as well. This government, Deputy Speaker, understands that our future growth, our economic development, our participation and productivity is quite simply giving a chance for the next generation to compete in the new world for the new jobs requires skills, and that means investing in places like our schools and our TAFEs, not ripping the base out of it as Liberal state governments are doing.
Has expired.